Alright guys, such comic again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Far from the cleanest start to a CDL season. Drama from start to finish in terms of the quality of the matches in production today and what that might potentially mean for the rest of the season as well. Lots of frustration from top to bottom with these games, but the results themselves rather fascinating indeed. OpTic start off strong, winning an opening match for the first time in quite some years at this point, and the final series of the day certainly turned up some storylines. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Few comments ready before we get underway. Firstly, from Rambo, personal update. I think we did hear about this, but it wasn't sure how it was going to affect his, well, comeback this season or whether that comeback is going to happen at all. His family's welcomed a baby girl recently, so congrats to Rambo and his family. And, well, as he says, he's going to take some time to do some dad duties for the time being, but he will be looking to return at some point. So a brief hiatus from coaching. Of course, his time on Surge came to an end. The same with all the other guys on that Surge team, as we know. He will be looking for other opportunities. He actually did say towards the end of this he has an eye on a couple of teams that he thinks he could potentially help, so time will tell where that could potentially be. We of course talked about Gentlemates because the Neptune relationship on Surge, the fact that Rambo's French-Canadian, but as it stands, well, Gentlemates have their coaching lineup. Mayhem, I think, and Vio's over there as well. Things start to go wrong, maybe they will need to pick up the phone. The CDL though is back. They've got this new studio set up. Of course, we did see it for the 75k kickoff, or not really, you know what I mean, that tournament the other day. But it was kind of the first time we got to see everything in all of its glory, as it were. The glory, I thought, was far less notable when it came to the music, because Skur is gone, and the old CDL selection music, I'm not saying we need to keep it forever, but I don't know, it ain't hidden so far as I'm concerned. Intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. The new graphics package, however, is, I think, a step up. I like what they've done with the new graphics and the development there. Look, if the CDL wasn't a clown show from the perspective of the game and all of that, we would be in a much better spot, but we did have plenty of issues today when it comes to delays. Even the first series, which wasn't that bad and was only a 3-mapper, it took ages to get between map 1 and map 2, and I know that there are always issues when the game is launched. We know that. It's a standard feature, but Activision own this league, Microsoft, whatever, they own the game as well. They run the game, so it shouldn't be rocket science to make a game that is playable out of the gate. But look, here we are again. There was a patch update that dropped yesterday. Clearly a ton of issues coming into play as well. But OpTic, they got underway against the Falcons, the season opener, the world champion. Some key storylines here, playing against Prid, playing against Celium. Obviously was going to be interesting. I never thought this was going to be close, and frankly, it wasn't. Game 1 was, you know, reasonably competitive up to about 110, 110. Then OpTic took over. That was really no surprise. When OpTic locked in, it was, well, it was over before it really started, I think, this series. Very interesting, though, to see if Falcons can really have any chance this season to do anything of note at all. Obviously, losing to OpTic is what it is. Getting thread by OpTic is what it is at this point in the season. But, yeah, Falcons do concern me to a certain extent. They were, I don't know, it wasn't terrible in the hard point and the search and destroy as well. They put up a bit of a fight, of course, but yeah, it wasn't ideal. The body language on Falcons didn't look great. I think OpTic knew they were winning this before the series had really started, to be honest. I don't imagine Falcons have been looking especially tasty in scrims. So look, OpTic, they run through the map 1. We did get the snipers in action today, and I think it's also worth noting that the casters and the desk, they actually recognized that they're doing this 2 sniper lives GA. Now look, yes, there were some decent shots hit, but again, the pros can say all they want about the quality of the snipers, how good they are, how outrageous it is, the aim assist apparently, and all that type of stuff. But were there plenty of missed shots today? Were the snipers an absolutely overwhelming key factor in play? Not as far as I'm concerned. Is it a little maybe frustrating that we have this 2 lives? Well, if you guys are unfamiliar, the pros have come up with the GA, where if you snipe, once you die with it, you can pull it out once more, and then that's it for the rest of the map. So effectively, it's like CS where you can save the sniper. And to be fair, I thought with it being a GA, the commentators, they wouldn't really discuss it, and they'd be like, oh wow, I'm surprised he's put the sniper away round 11 given that he's just fried with it all map. So thankfully they at least recognize what is happening here. But I think there's a good argument to say that we might not really need that rule. But look, we've got snipers in search and destroy. I guess I should be grateful or whatever, because we've not had it in some time, and I think it is for the better of the state of the game. Nice little 1v2 here from Pred up against Huke. He got the job done. There was another couple of rounds later where Huke also may have thrown just a little bit, but in the end it didn't really matter for OpTic. This was Cell's setup for the day, but look at this guy go. I thought this was a funny screenshot. I'm not sure you can see it in this tweet. I don't know if you put it on or in this screenshot. I don't know if you put it on later, but I mean, look at this guy go. He's got this, I mean, maybe I need to try this. Bit of sellotape between what appears to be between his glasses and, I don't know, his headset or his bandana or whatever's going on. So his glasses don't fall down his face. So he doesn't have to keep pushing them up. That is technology not seen before. But it didn't make much difference, because the start of this control, he was getting absolutely fried. I think the former was doing a bit of analysis of this, and okay, he was probably getting somewhat unlucky, but wasn't exactly Cellium's finest hour. And this is a big Shotzzy takeover. So Mercules had an unbelievable series, no real shock there. But Shotzzy in the Overload, I think is going to be an absolute menace this year. Just Overload was great fun to watch today. Really enjoyed it. I think it's better than Control as far as I'm concerned. Certainly there's more going on. There's some things to fix, and we can talk about that in the coming days. But I had a good time watching Overload today. I know that it's new, it's honeymoon period, whatever. But I think Shotzzy, especially given his playstyle and everything, he's going to be so deadly at this game mode, just because the way that he plays, being so... It's like Halo CTF in a way. There's a little bit of that going on here. So OpTic, they get the win. Again, given the way that Overload works, in the last couple of minutes, it was pretty clear that there was no chance of Falcons to come back. But, you know, that is part of the sport sometimes. In any sport, there might be better solutions. I think the 30 seconds additional at the end of the half is a good idea. It definitely creates for better environments. I think the pistol change as well. I'm pretty happy with that, actually. It makes it clear that guy has the EMP, so when you're watching his POV, if he's got the pistol out, he's probably got the device, right? I think that's good, first of all. And then the pistol's still very good. It doesn't mean the game is very low scoring. It makes it maybe more challenging to score, but it's still pretty good. I think that's a decent compromise, to be honest. And the pros, well, we'll see what their opinions are on that in the coming days. But Falcons, they're back like they never left, baby, because it was the same old story. Dashy says we finally won a season opener, because they'd lost the last several in a row, actually. They took the win, comfortable 3-0. Mercules had a 1.8, Shotzzy had a 1.5, Exnib with a 0.6, I mean, Cell with a 0.8, Preb with a 0.9. I mean, it's just pretty ugly, right? I think as a result of this series, there was immediately talk as like, damn, Cell's getting well paid, sure. But could we see an end to his 1 KD streak on LAN this season? I'm not going to say it quite yet, but I know a couple of people were pointing it out today. I thought it was interesting, I have to mention. That was the Dashy tweet. This was the Huke tweet. I mean, this guy, like, he just lives and breathes exposure, shooting bots, doesn't he? He doesn't even know the scoreline. He just says GG's to Falcons. The next series, before we get into the final one of the day, which is certainly worthy of note, was this, Boston Ravens. Now, this series took an absolute age, and I was furious. I mean, it's about 1:30 here in the UK right now, and, well... It's been a wild ride this evening for sure. The first CDL match day, only 3 games. I thought, okay, it can't be that bad, surely. But the Ravens, they've done it again. I'm not exactly sure what the issue here was. Whatever, we'll get into it. First of all, the Ravens, this was hilarious, to be honest, that Boston won this by 100 points despite basically getting outslayed. It was certainly pretty even. Snoopy and Purge were on an all-time stinker to start this map out. Then they came back to win by 100. The Search and Destroy went to around 11, and Ravens took that one. It's a slasher team, not shocked. They're good at Search and Destroy at the start of the game. After that, we got some pretty unbelievable moments, actually. This was a disgusting one out of Purge. He picks up the first kill, slashes in the window, and then he hits the absolute jump shot, wall bounce, and gun slasher out of the window. So, yeah, rough day for Slasher. Look, I still think that Slasher has a contribution to make to the league, but I think that if there's any game where Slasher's going to be in a more compromised position, first of all, he's playing with young kids again, Craze and Lurqxx. Obviously, Nero's been around a few years. They're all remote. Like, that can't be... Slasher can't be happy with that. And this game... is a game that veteran ARs you wouldn't expect to have a great time with unless you're Dashy, who's technically a veteran AR but doesn't really feel like it in quite the same way. This was Purge getting a score in. then this is kind of funny, really, when he did get this score. And I mean, the tweet doesn't want to load real quick, the video, you know how it is, Twitter video player. But he got the score, and then immediately the screen just goes back and says halftime. So they've got to work on that, because you want to actually see what happened as a result. Anyway, that map ends. We then wait around for about an hour and a half. I don't know what was going on here, but delays will be right back. I think it would be nice if they could at least have told, like, I hate the bloody be right back screen. Or when it was a 5-minute countdown, it got down to 2 minutes, and then it magically went up to 3.5 minutes again. It's like, come on, right? Like, it's not, especially for people that may have been tuning into the CDL for the first time today, to see that is like, well, that's what we're going to get this season. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if it could have been Ravens related when it comes to the fact that those guys were all remote and all that, but whatever. Purj was pretty furious. In the end, after Slasher woke up from his nap, he got bodied on the map 4. They won the exposure, Boston, and that was GG. Again, nasty on map 4. He's not changed since last year. He's dropping 1.4s again. He had a 1.4 in the series in the end. Snoopy got back to positive. Purge didn't, but it didn't really matter. So Boston win their first series. Pretty impressed by Boston overall. But the final series, just before we get to that actually, I just wanted to quickly say, because the scoreboard is broken again. The scoreboard that they bring up at the end of the map is wrong. Now, that may sound outrageous, but it is, because easyMack's been doing the numbers, and the scoreboard they bring up is actually incorrect. It doesn't count the earliest few kills in the map. Sometimes one, sometimes potentially more than one. So, like easyMack says here, that Craze got a kill in the scoreboard, but it wasn't counted on the scoreboard. And that is also reflected at the end. So, man, shout out easyMack again, putting in an absolute shift here to make this work, despite the fact that the game, again, is broken. You'd think you could trust this, but you can't trust this. This is wrong. It's not right. So, yes, something to keep in mind. We're doing our best. What we have on the website, as far as we believe, is correct. easyMack's counted the kill fees in addition to the stats that are correct. It's another year of Call of Duty, baby. Black Ops 7 might be better, but we're still got to deal with the same old BS. But this was a fascinating one. Simp versus aBeZy. The series, you know, I was waiting around for this one. I was like, I can't really go to bed before we see this series. And look, I thought it could be a game 5. It wasn't at all. And, well, what a turnaround for Thieves. I know there was some talk today, oh, Kenny's going to drop a 0.3. He's going to get the Burger King card this stage. Okay, look, we'll see. It's only one series. But I was pretty impressed by Kenny today. Thieves played FaZe. Simp was on fire in the first map. He was slaying everything. He had 2 minutes in the hill. He had a huge slaying performance on the map 1. But they still lost the map. And this is the thing. I mean, we've been talking about this with respect to FaZe over the last few days, that it is Simp and, you know, say your prayers. That is effectively what happened game 1, because it was aBeZy on the other side. It was actually a really amazing storyline here, that you had Simp and aBeZy, the Tiny Terrors, no longer playing alongside one another, absolutely cooking each respective team. And, you know, who knows, maybe if they'd have stayed together for this game, it could have been a different story, but that's not how it is. They fried each other's teams. aBeZy ended with well over 30 kills. Simp ended like 37, I think, in 26. Again, I think this number might be slightly wrong. With 2 minutes in the hard point, aBeZy had almost the same. But the Thieves guys, they got the breaks when it mattered. And just from top to bottom, they were just a little bit stronger. And again, the big drama, apart from Simp and aBeZy, really, is Drazah versus Scrap, right? As we know in this particular rivalry. But today, there was only one winner of that debate. The Search and Destroy, FaZe went up 4-1. It looked like, okay, this probably is going to go to a game 5. But Thieves adapted well. They brought it back. They eventually won 5 straight rounds to take the game. Then we went to an overload on the exposure, where this is a pretty crazy moment, actually. This was right at the end of the standard time. If 04 has another, I don't know, half a second, he gets through, picks up the device, the 30 seconds kicks in and he scores. But he didn't, and that came, well, that proved to be very costly. And we had an absolute banger finish to this game to close out the day. Pretty mega, really, because Thieves and Scrap have been talking all this, oh, I'm not so sure about overload, not as good of a game as control and all this. They end up winning in remarkable fashion. So the team names are swapped here, by the way. So this is actually FaZe, and that is actually Thieves. So we've got the final 30 seconds. FaZe pick up the objective. They're running it into the portal, and they get it through to make it 4-4. And then, of course, once it's 4-4, instead of going to like an overtime situation, it then simply becomes a search and destroy round, right? It goes down to effectively a 4 versus 4, which becomes a 4v2. It looks like FaZe are going to get the job done and advance this one on. But in the end, HyDra gets the kill, and eventually it's the Thieves boys that get their own cap in, and they close out the rounds. Like, unbelievable way to close out the rounds. I mean, you usually see it happen with those search and destroy rounds. Everyone plays for kills, but instead, Thieves and aBeZy picks up the objective and runs it into the portal. So quite the day one. There was some good in there, there was some bad in there, there was certainly some ugly in there as well. aBeZy finishes the series with a 1.35. Scrap had a 0.8, which you think would be terrible for him, which it is, but Drazah was worse, 0.79. 04 was a 0.76. Simp had a 1.4, and it wasn't enough. They couldn't even win a map. So plenty to discuss over the next couple of days. See you tomorrow morning. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.